The brothers WISP. The brothers WISP, brothers WISP. The brothers WISP. The brothers.
You're now listening to Greg, it's the Brothers Wisp. Let's take a ride through space on this mothership. Wireless networking, we talk about equipment and methodology.
All right, let's go make this just big so that I can make certain I don't screw up anything.
This brings back memories.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's just like one of these like, oh, everything, all these little things, and like each one I've screwed up, and you're just like, God dang it, it screws up the video for the whole thing, and so then I have to play some hijinksy game to make it work. And so
I used to work in video production, typecasters, VT4s. It's like, oh, Windows update and broke everything, quick.
No, not today. All right, well, visual indicator. Hey everybody, it's Tommy with the Brothers Wisp. We've got 4 awesome faces here today. To my left, I've got Andrew. Where are you hailing from, man?
Seattle, near Seattle.
Okay. And you're
that way.
yeah, way north. And then bottom left of me right now is Chad Wachs hailing back from Colorado. My old home state. You're up in Golden, right?
Golden, Colorado, home of the Coors Brewing.
Yeah, and my School of Mines. Chad, you got the dog, so we'll wait a second. But you actually did the magical thing and are pulling the plug. You're getting out.
I did. Yeah, I've been my board of directors and I have been working on it for about the past 6 months, trying to find a replacement. Either replace me, which is to go find an entrepreneur. They said originally, hey, go write a job description for what it is you're for. We're a 2-person shop. And I finally sat down, I started writing a job description, and it's like, I'm writing a job description for an entrepreneur that knows networking and RF. And that's a difficult, almost impossible person to find, because those that exist have already got their own companies that they're running. You don't find people like that are looking for work because they're entrepreneurs. They're out working. So we ended up putting together a deal with a neighboring WISP. They're about 5 times the size of us. They've been in business about 6 years longer than we have. And we've been working with them on a friendly basis for really almost since we started. I started buying DIA from them 7 years ago. We've been helping each other out, sharing customers back and forth where we could service each other. And so it ended up being a pretty good fit. They're similar equipment. They're a Mikrotik house as well. And they're looking to grow. And so it was just sort of a natural fit and the easiest for our customers. So starting January 1st, I will no longer be a WISP owner. I will be a temporary consultant to them to help transition these customers over and move along. And then I'm only going to have one full-time job at that point. And so maybe I'll have a little bit of time left back in my life.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Several previous places I've been, my favorite line was, everybody leaves here in one way or another. You either get kicked out or you graduate, and
burn out or kicked out.
Yeah, so you did the right thing. Good job. I'm really proud. It's been really awesome watching you grow and do all the cool fun stuff. And so thanks for sticking around. And then down below me, we've got the good old Dennis Burgess.
Hi.
How's it going over in your neck of the woods?
Well, we're out of St. Louis. Tomorrow we're going to get hit with all that wonderful cold weather and snow. Right now it's 29 actually. So tomorrow it's supposed to go down to 0, and wind chill is supposed to be -20.
Yeah,
is what they're saying.
Yeah, they're saying
we don't get much negative weather in St. Louis. So
no, you guys are kind of far south for that negative weather. That's going to be a little bit rough on you guys.
Yeah. Got heaters. It's all good.
Yeah,
I'll just kick up some more servers. It's all good.
Yeah, just turn on a few more servers for mapping.
Yeah.
So yeah, we up here it's supposed to start. So I was hoping to get driving tomorrow, and it's looking like I might be delaying till Saturday to stay out of the worst of the storm. So, such is life. But well, let's get rolling here. We've got some potatoes to rock through. Dennis, actually, since you're here, can I beg you for a little quick what's the cool stuff that you advertise and would like to say?
Oh, I mean,
With an updated quotation, because I've been demanding this for months. Now I have.
I think I've seen one email on it. I don't think it's a demand at this point in
No.
time yet. I didn't write it, so there you go. Obviously, we do towercoverage.com. Pretty much it has a one-stop shop for mapping. We are doing all of the BDC filings. We did them last, was the last filing. We're definitely geared up for this year's or this next upcoming filing. Should be bigger, badder, faster, quicker, etc. So, give us a shot. There's no contracts. Pricing starts at $25 a month. So, if we can't provide you good service, then, take your business elsewhere. I mean, that's exactly what I tell everybody. I do think we provide a really good service though. So give us a chance.
Awesome. Brothers WISP is also brought to you by Sonar, a scalable, intuitive, and comprehensive ISP billing and operational support system. Learn more at Sonar.Software. We're also supported by Preseam, an edge network QoE solution that enables proactive management of the network subscriber experience to achieve higher customer satisfaction while lowering operational costs and increasing revenue. Preseam is made by Atolo Networks, and whose goal is to enable local and regional ISPs to thrive by solving network problems with products that people love. Launched in 2017, Preseam has helped more than 400 ISPs in the US and around the world deliver better internet to their subscribers. And then we're also supported every month by Villo, and I got a mention from them, and they said that they had a new blurb, but they didn't send it to me. And so broke my heart. So I guess I'll just give you their let me double check. Nope. Okay, so a complete mesh Wi-Fi hardware and remote management solution that empowers WISPs of any size to light your customers, reduce your operating costs, and grow your business. Designed with input and feedback from the ISP community, Villo is proud to be a trusted partner of over 150 ISPs around the world. I know that is increasing. There's a lot of talk on Facebook about their stuff, and that's villoliving.com and such. So they are that's where, and then you can find them on Facebook, Villo Living, if you search for some of their community groups. So so to me, the big news of the week was that, or of this last week, couple weeks, is the FCC finally released their end, like what they want on your labels, the nutritional labels. And so we have,
I like that.
yeah, I think it's actually going to be kind of beneficial for WISP with what they have. Like, it's a little bit hard to figure out exactly what you're looking at, and you're going to have to figure out what is your latency that you want to go off of. But and you can get down to the closest data center or major set of data centers, and they recommended that you use the locations that the FCC is also already requiring for testing. So like Denver was the closest one for Colorado for me. But there's data centers and locations, or basically cities, all throughout the United States, all of them that were supposed to be within about like 20 to 30 milliseconds of anywhere in the States. Was all the locations they wanted that they would allow testing to. And so you can test to there, and the government will consider that. That was what I was reading online, and what people were saying, and what the FCC had responded with, and what I was reading inside, because they referred to another document that I had to implement at my last job. So that was really cool. I like that, and I think that's going to be really beneficial, and it's going to give you like, hey, I have better latency. Like, if you can say that, like,
are they providing you the list of IPs that you can ping against in those locations, or because I have servers in Denver, can I do latency to my own devices that are one hop away from my customers and report that as my latency, since that sits in a Denver data center?
So that you can do that if you set up the testing yourself and you do the testing from your customer's premises to a data center in Denver. That was how the rules read for basically it was like for all the RDOF guys and the CAF2 and CAF3 guys, or CAF1 and CAF2. That's what we all had to implement. And so there was actually guys who built their whole entire testing system like all the way out to various data centers and such. And then there was a bunch of like companies that were offering, hey, you can just buy our box and we'll do that testing for you. But then they just had data centers in like New York or like California. I'm like, you guys are crazy. What the heck are you? Do you think I'm stupid? Like, I'm just going to fail. Like, well, I mean, I wouldn't fail. I still had pretty decent all the way over. It was only like 60 milliseconds off the wireless all the way back. But still, like, I don't want that. I want to be better than everyone else. So as far as the old reading was for those rules, you should be fine. But I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so take it your own risk. But I would give myself an extra 5 to 10 milliseconds just to be on the safe side.
Well, what are they going to do if it's wrong? Like, who's testing this? Who's going to come back and say something? How do you verify that? Like, I get that it's a good thing for the consumer, but much like the broadband mapping, who is going to go in and verify this stuff and challenge it? And the Comcast and the Lumens of the world are going to be able to put whatever data they want to put on there. Mm-hmm. How do we challenge that and throw the red flag, so to speak?
Well, and you're just going to have to go to consumer lawsuit, class action stuff. Like, hey, you're falsely advertising. Same thing as like what you do if there's a problem with some sort of what they did with Taco Bell a few years back.
So more money.
Yeah.
Right, but the guys that are suing Taco Bell have billions of dollars because they're in the restaurant business. You and I and small WISP owners, we don't have the resources, the time, and the money to chase those down. So are we going to rely on their customers to turn them in?
That's about
it's like where I live, right? We have a couple different provider choices, but none of them are quality at all. So it's like, okay, great, you have good latency, but then your service is down every day. What's the point?
Well, again, and they're not reporting that, or they're not also, and that label doesn't sit there and say that, So, and then whenever you always sit there and get the wonderful, you have a guaranteed uptime. Well, how long is the guarantee? What is the guarantee? Yeah. The guarantee is that, yes, if you're down for 1 day out of 30, we're going to give you 1/30th of your money back.
1 day, you can put you out of business in 1 day.
Right. And that's kind of the issue is that, they're only going to take the liability for what they take in. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of comes back to that. You still have to fight the good fight. All they're doing is making other metrics that can't be proven, that can't be, you can analyze it, but now it's one person's word against the other. There's no enforcement agency. There's no enforcement action to make them make it correct. So just like the BDC, you're kind of the same boat.
I honestly think it's less so much the raw numbers. I think that's like what we geeks are going to really latch onto. But I think the like data included, so bandwidth cap, and then the additional charges and terms. I think because like I just had a guy come off of Comcast, and for his business, he had Comcast internet for like 5-7 years, and he'd been paying for a TV plan that he'd never used, and that was all.
That's not going to matter with this internet plan. The internet plan's only going to report that.
Well, so you're supposed to, if there's a bundle thing, it's there is a line for discounts and bundles in there, and then you're also like your provider month. Like Comcast had like $60 in additional fees and charges.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
was
Modem
that were-
rental.
And they're not even
There's
federal
$10. Yeah.
yeah.
They're not even federal fees. They're their fees. They make up all the fees and they put them on. I'm like, what are these $50 in fees I'm paying for? Oh, we have telecom fees. Think of myself, I'm an ISP. I don't have these fees.
Mhm.
So who knows?
They
I
can call,
think
they can
labels are
call
great.
they can call them fees, but they can't call them taxes.
Yeah, because the government doesn't make.
Oh
them
yeah,
cover it.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
one of
And so
those
that's the
goofy
difference.
things.
But like that gives you that's an easy metric, and you can just be like, hey, 0 here. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
What you're paying here plus taxes, end result. There you go.
Taxes. You shouldn't be paying taxes on internet service. Well, I guess in California you probably
Here's
do.
the thing. In the state of Washington, as an ISP, I'm not required to charge sales tax. It's a new law they passed 2 years ago.
Huh.
No sales tax.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no-
Comcast charging me sales tax.
There's no sales tax in Missouri.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to run around with Lumen on that as well because Colorado's got the same law. There is no sales tax on internet service in Colorado. Lumen does charge taxes, but they're not keeping that. That's not going to their bottom line. That is fraud, and at that level, those companies aren't. Whatever they're putting on there, I trust that if they're charging a tax, it's getting sent to the state, either correctly or incorrectly, but that isn't going to their bottom line because that would get flagged.
Oh
That's
yeah.
my good experience with Lumen is they're very transparent on their fees. I'm like, I like you. Let's talk some more. Here we are.
So Andrew, you actually speaking of Lumen, you're going to be a big boy internet service provider here in a little bit.
Yeah. So I didn't realize this. Like when I started this whole idea, I had a pipe dream of I hate my internet provider. I hate my internet, and I like PC repair, but people need better internet. So I started this idea. I'm going to start a WISP, and I've told no, you'll never make it, never go anywhere. Here we are 3 years later in an office building. We have racks in the basement, and we have literally layer 1 from Seattle to here in the basement, and then another link to Seattle and another data center here at the basement. So the way I look at it is, okay, well, local customer service. Hey, 2 connections because things break and they go down. And even if we can't fix it here at the CPE end of it, we'll put a cellular backup. Done. So the way that we kind of built our business was you don't need to go down. You don't need terrible customer service, and you shouldn't have to pay a lot of money. But it is expensive. It's not free. Hence the 3-year contracts. And that's where I got a lot of, no, we don't want contracts. Okay, keep paying your current provider and watch your rates go up like this. And they're like, why do my rates keep going up? I know. This is the problem I want to help solve. It's like you want to save money in a small community. This is how you do it. Small business, work together. So, yeah, this is year 3.7 years technically. It took us to kind of get everything going. But we have all our links in the basement of this building, and we're just waiting for them to flip the switch. I got, -2 on one link and -4 on the other. So the signal's strong, but the lights aren't on yet. So having to deal with the big telecom and all that stuff, it takes time. But once you're online, I'm told you're online. Like, it's all level 3 too. It's not like cheap bandwidth. I'm like, wait a second. Okay. And I was doing like MTRs from their looking glass. I'm like, I'm 4 hops from LA, 9 from Buffalo. Whoa, this is cool. So as you talked about before, that quality of internet. We're all about quality. You're going to have quality. I'm not going to give you some leftover garbage. I'm going to give you good bandwidth. So it costs money and takes time and been a lot of resistance. But I think we're up to I want to say 7 customers. We got our 5th fiber to the home customer today because we do open access stuff. And I'm the highest priced, and people are like, you answer your phone. You're nice to me. There you go. That's all it takes. So anyone could be an ISP. So one of my goals is I take this whole idea, I'm going to package it, brand it, and go all over the U.S. with it to help entrepreneurs start a company, start a business, make some money, and then maybe sell out. My goal in 10 years is to sell out. I don't want to work anymore, but good luck on that one.
Yeah, good luck. It's going to be, could be you need a few more. So, so how'd you start on picking up, who'd you pick? So you're going through Lumen for your connectivity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went with Lumen, who's level 3 CenturyLink,
Mm-hmm. So how'd you pick them over all the other transport providers in your area?
Well, I called the other providers and I said, listen, come on, Chair. Here's what we want to do. We want to build XYZ. We want to do high speed, 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks everywhere. And I got a lot of, good luck. And no, we don't really care. And then it turns out that other organizations end up getting grants from governments to put public Wi-Fi up. Well, when I'm talking about public Wi-Fi, I'm not talking about serving the public. I'm talking about replacing your current provider. So I don't think they really get I don't know, because I'm dealing with, I've got government to compete against, I got big corporation to deal with, which is our cable bullies of the world. No names, because they're all bullies. They really are. Like, they'll lie, cheat, and steal their way just to get you kicked out of a project, to turn around and end up getting the project anyway. So that kind of stuff happens. But to get us started, kind of like the first customer was, I've been doing PC repair and IT and helping customers. I have like 170, 180 customers just in my town alone. That really launched it. It was more, oh, you're local. Wow, they actually answer your phone. Well, yeah, but a lot of it is, come on, turn it on. I want to sell it. I can't. I got racks of machines. I got everything all ready to go. I got batteries in.
Yep.
So
yeah. All the
it takes
fun.
time. I'm like, I was hoping Monday to turn this on, but like, oh yeah, because I guess no one does what we do. No one does and says, I want 10 gig back to a data center ever. And it's layer 1 too. It's not like here's a layer 7 handoff. It's like, here you go. I'm like, whoa, okay. So about this big old fiber bundled down, the splice panel, and they're like going to 2 and 3, and there's your internet, and then 1 and 2 are back there, and then the other 24 ports you'll do with whatever you want later. Okay, cool. It don't work yet, so I'm still working on that. I'm like, hey, we stay in the office space. I've been here for a whole week. I used to rent in this building years ago, but then COVID hit, and I'm like, see ya, I'm out. I'm going to go build an ISP, and I'll come back when I'm ready. Now we're ready.
Nice.
So,
well, congrats. That's going to be awesome. It's really exciting. It's been fun watching
terrifying.
It's been fun watching you post the pictures in the Slack group.
Yeah.
And you're asking all the fun questions too.
And I am, and I'm like, no one's like, I don't know how to answer it. I'm like, I don't know either. So I guess I'm going to keep going and figure it out. So I had a conversation with Lumen this morning with the guy at BGP. He's like, do you want full stack? You want full? I'm like, let's see here. And it goes there. Yes. So a lot of it's trying to rediscover what I already knew. And I've done 780 in my head, but now I can't because there's calculators for that. I don't have to. Like, okay, 24 here, this goes here, and then make sure you got enough people here, and then bandwidth calculations, and then taking prices and making sure that your costs match with your megabits per second that you sell, and then everything goes into megabits per second, power, co-location, all of it. So keeping the formulas and keeping them good, and then for every neighborhood we do, the price might be higher here or lower here, but we got to keep it here. So it's like, how do you grow and expand? Well, the biggest challenge we found is once we got our first office lit up, just a storage company in the woods with fiber and lots of power, that giant battery backup, and we just do the open access fiber to the home reseller model, which is okay, it's fine. But the bandwidth is not equal. It's like, wait a second, how come I'm only getting 600 megs from Metrical when I pay for a gig DIA? No, I don't like that. That's not good enough for me. So that's where I went under the mission of, I'm just going to call a bunch of people. So I called CenturyLink 4, 5, 6 times, talked to different people, got quotes from like $1,500 a month to $6,000 a month for 36 months. And some of them are 5 years. And I'm like, you're all crazy. None of that's going to work. And then finally one day they called me and said, hey, I want to help you. Well, you want to what? Okay, here we are. So,
cool.
It just kind of blows my mind. It's like, this is actually working. How is this possible? How come? Okay, I'm just going to go with it. I've never done an ISP before, but I've been in IT for 20 years, and I fix servers, computers, networks. I do some contract work with Amazon over in the city. They're like, oh, they have like, these here, and they want this done. And did you get your Ubiquiti yet? No. I'll go check. I don't know. So, it's a lot of fun. I'm really loving kind of where we're going, and different brand names for different locations that we'll put out later, because it's going to kind of disrupt the market a bit, and it's going to crush some people's toes, but I don't care. It's like, no, we're going to let the entrepreneurs of the world, like Elon Musk and, all the other people behind the satellite internet, let's bring internet to the world. We need it. The last mile's terrible. So I'm going to fix that last mile. And that's what we do. It's like,
that's awesome.
You got to have a good last mile.
Doing it one place at a time. That's what all the WISP can do. So, let's see what other. Yeah. Oh, so I was just going to mention about my experience. So we bought 10 gig wavelength through Zayo from a town inside of our network, and then bought that, dropped it all the way back into Denver, and then we bought Cogent, a 10 gig connection there in Denver. It wasn't 910. It was a building like right around there, 1500 Champa.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot. It was so cool. We're like all excited, and then Zayo's like, oh yeah, we gotta upgrade the entire link all the way back for 10 gig because there's not enough bandwidth at the last hop before us. I'm like, so that took months and months and months, and what was supposed to be like a 3-month turnaround turned into 8.
Yeah, it's been 6 months. It's like, can we turn this on yet? We're ready.
Yep.
Are you ready? Huh?
Yep.
There's so many people involved. I didn't realize there's like 20 people involved in one freaking order. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I got a whole sheet
it's
of all the
always-
different people I got to call.
Yeah.
So
it is a
but I
really
enjoy it,
frustrating
you know.
time. Good. I'm glad that you were
Okay.
enjoying it. I hated every single second of it. Our ZO rep called
online
at one
I'm
point.
hating it.
Yeah. Well, our ZO rep called one day because we'd called her and left her a message and sent her emails and been like, hey, we have some questions on this. Where are we at? And like 3 or 4 days later, she calls back and she calls the office. And I'm just like, we're going to sit down and have a conversation here, hun. Cause it was, I was very angry. I was not charitable as I should have been.
Yeah.
I ended up
I've got
thanking
pending
her.
claims. I can't sign up because I have no internet, but I can't go and complain. And no, I mean, I can, but I'm not going to go and complain. It's like, I'll go through the appropriate channels. And secretly, I'm really pissed off right now. This is like day 2 with me. Like, we've got 50 down and 10 up here. This is killing me. My 5G hotspot has more bandwidth than its cable connection. I couldn't get my internet yet. So it is over 5G, which is great, and it works because the cell site's right there. That's my backup too.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue this is what your sales reps are for. Call them and hammer them because they just got a big commission off of you. And instead of you calling and hounding the tech guys who are working hard, call your sales rep every single day because they've got the internal channels to call to get your stuff fixed. But that's what they made the big commission for.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my sales guy's local, which I really like. He's in Seattle, so it's like, oh, wait a second, you're not somewhere in another country? Cool, awesome, let's do this. Then he came out to a luncheon and all that stuff, and I'm like, wait a second, you really want this stuff? Okay. So it's really cool to see that there's actually people in this world who care enough to want to see an ISP launch and to see a better option out here. And as I hear from through the grapevine, and some of their engineers are like, why aren't we doing this stuff? Why don't we do 60 gigahertz gigabit rooftops? Good question. Well, the politics of it don't let them do that. They can't. I mean, they have to take someone like me who wants to buy it to then sell it. I'm like, okay. So I'm pretty happy and pretty pissed off, but pretty happy at the same time. It's like I'm almost there. I got my IPs. Oh, I got to figure BGP out. Oh man. Okay, let me get on the Slack group. Anybody know? Try this. Cool. More videos. More reading. So.
Yeah. All the fun.
Joys.
All the craziness. It keeps us always busy. All right. Well, what was anything else news wise that's making you guys excited? I think Ubiquiti's got some new stuff coming out. Didn't the 60 gigahertz, the LR, I think, was it that hit the Wave AP hit general availability. And then they have a 2.5 gig Ethernet and the 10 gig SFP.
That just came out. I just saw that.
They got 2.5 gig Ethernet, which is their PoE in, but who is making a 2.5 gigabit PoE++ output switch that we can hang on a tower? No, you're right. Nobody is. So I love the 2.5 gig port as a WISP. It's great, but there's no switch manufacturers out there yet that are helping us out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We stick with
Cambium.
I've been very happy with it. Yeah. I do Cambium for my outdoor because they work. One of them, we thought it was DOA, and it wasn't. They just didn't configure right for us. So they had to start a whole new unit and everything. But, I'm happy with the outdoor APs of Cambium. They're really good. But when they're not really good, they're not really good either. So, yeah, it's technology for you, right? It's like, is it my end or the antenna? Or is it the injector? Or is it broken? Who knows?
I was looking at the new Wave. They've got a mounting bracket that essentially puts 3 of those things together to give you 90 degrees. And when you look at it, it's just simply a mounting bracket, right? They've done nothing with the electronics. So if you're going to compete with, say, a Ciclu or a Cambium on a Terragraph type installation, and you're going to go 360 degrees, that is 12 fibers you've got coming down from that tower just to support those APs, let alone the power budget that's going to require. Like, that is going to be 3 or 4 times the power budget of a simple Ciclu AP up there doing the same exact thing. It's going to be hard to justify that with 30-degree sectors and not combining the electronics in that.
Yeah.
What's the power requirement on a Ciclu?
Those things run at about, I'm trying to think what mine were running at. They run at about 20 watts. Okay. 48 volt.
You're talking 6 times the power. That's that adds up. I mean, sure, 60, 80, 120 watts, it's not that big, but when you have to pay for your power, that adds up.
Yeah.
I mean, over the course of a year, that's in Colorado. What are we still? But it was like 10 cents a kilowatt hour out by me.
I'm more concerned that
kilowatt
it's not a lot until you're running on a battery bank because the power's gone down, and now you've gone from 24 hours of battery to 10 hours of battery or less. That's when it really is going to hit you.
Yeah.
That's our next step. Is we're instead of a generator here, we're just doing 4 100 amp hour 48 volt batteries. Done. There's 3 days of power because the rack only pulls 400 watts right now. It's going to pull more later, but I can add batteries to it. And that's kind of our, okay, I'm on a main highway here, so the odds of the power going out, it went out once. I was in the basement putting shelves together, and then lights go on. I'm like, what did I do?
Guarantee you, as soon as you want to go on vacation, the power's going to go out for 3 days. Every time without bloody fail.
I know.
You right? The general rule is a backup of a backup.
Yeah.
So, in our data center, we have AB power, we have AB feeds, and we have a pair of gen sets.
Yeah.
Wow. You're definitely super backed up.
Yeah. I mean, we've had power go out for 3 days, as you just said.
Wow.
And it used about 50 gallons of propane. It wasn't horrible, but we stayed up. Everything stayed up. Nobody knew about it. And that's really the big key is nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
If you can keep everything up and running without anybody knowing it, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. We had a power outage, our first big outage, and it was out for 6 hours, but my battery backup lasts 11. I'm like, we're good. It's just one piece of equipment, so that's all that mattered. I'm like, okay, we're good. But I actually called the business who the equipment's located. Like, oh, hey, you're online. Everything's beeping. Everything's good. I'm like, good to know. No phone calls, and the power came back on. So, yeah, it does happen, especially in the wintertime or in the summertime, in the middle of the day. Power's out. Why? Oh, a tree hit the line 4 miles up the road, took the high volt line out for the whole city.
I found the power's always out for about 20 minutes longer than your batteries are intended to.
Yes.
And then you're doing a truck roll because you depleted the battery and something out there broke when it comes back out.
Or what's even worse is whenever you have all your UPSs plugged into a similar outlet, and whenever they all come back online, then they start charging, which pops the breaker. I have seen that too.
Yep.
We got power back. No, we don't.
That's why we had them build in 4 20 amp circuits in the basement, individual runs, just for that reason. I'm like, I know it's going to happen.
All of our UPSs, we run 220 on everything. So
nice.
I would always
120. We should have done 2, but whatever.
In the big power outages, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but so I would see everyone go down except for the customers who had battery backups or they had their own I knew who had battery backups because they didn't go down at all, and I knew had well, they didn't go down for at least an hour or two, and then they went down. And then I knew the ones who had generators because they would go down for like 20 plus minutes, and then they would come up with everyone else coming up. And I every time that happened in a certain area, I would just turn off all the bandwidth limiters and just be like, if you want to have power in this outage, I'll give you whatever you can get. Because that was my favorite, just to see who could get the most. I would have little races between my various customers. I never told them.
You need a new life. You need a something, a hobby, something.
Yes, I do photography as my hobby.
Go bowling. Go bowling, I guess. Yeah. Something.
When the power's out. Go bowling. Bowling. Bring your flashlight.
Okay, I'm gonna admit it wasn't healthy, but it was my pastime. So what else have y'all been doing to get ready for this big storm that we're coming up for?
For the most part on our yeah, I'll go. You want to go? It's up to you.
I say, storm-wise, it's supposed to snow again. And I'm like, well, I should be able to get out of here. I was sliding all over today. I got stuck down the road. Saw one of my clients. He's got this big truck. He's a yard guy, so he got sandbags, put some dirt into my tires, came right out. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Pays to live in a small town where people are like, do you have a cell phone? I'm like, yeah. I do. Thank you for asking. It's very rare. In the city, the big city, you don't get that. You don't get that hometown hospitality of, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm just halfway in the road because I can't move my car.
For the most part, all of our customers, 99% of them are already set up with redundancies. So it's between UPS generators. They usually go out and get gas. They'll fill up all, they'll either buy new gas tanks or fill up all their tanks, etc. I do know some ISPs that last week, we were actually one of them, that we contacted the propane company and said, hey, we need a fill sometime this week before the weather hits. That way, if there is some issue, we have a really good runtime. We have a 500-gallon tank, so it's fine for us.
A lot of propane. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the ideal is that you need to have. It's going to take us a day or two to get a fill, okay? Unless we want to pay the emergency fee, which is like stupid price. So, the size of the tank really didn't matter. The propane really doesn't go bad. So, why
I
not?
have propane at home. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's just expensive at $3.20 a gallon. It's like,
yeah, we were paying
$1,000
before COVID, we were paying like $1.10 a gallon, which was stupid priced. And now it's like $2.50, $2.60, and that's on a contract. So it definitely adds up. So
it does. But you don't go offline. That's the thing.
Yeah,
No
that's the big thing is, if you design your network correctly, you design everything with redundancies. I'm a big fan of active routers. So I want a pair of routers with edges. I want a pair of cores that are all active. I don't like to do the active backup stuff, which I know other people like to do, but I'm not a fan of that because guess what? Whenever it cuts over, there's always something that's missing. It never works right. So, at any which rate, but that's basically it. I mean, everybody's keeping up. I do know a lot of people are working from home. My wife, her company, they already told everybody that, tomorrow's when we're supposed to get hit with the storm. I probably said that to all the team here before we went live, but she's going to be working from home. So, it is what it is. At home, I have 3. I have the local WISP, I have Starlink, and I have LTE.
I'm noticing that this storm is one of those that we don't get very often, right? And they're calling for -50 with wind chill in Colorado. That's not unusual for what Montana and Wyoming and North and South Dakota are seeing. And I've been chatting we use WISP Assist for our frontline support. And I was chatting with them this evening. The front came through us at about 4:45, and we went from 55 degrees to currently at 7 degrees outside right now. I'm watching all of my Dragon Wave radios are reporting back to me that their internal temperature right now is 9 degrees inside an active radio. We're below the operating threshold for some of these radios. And when I was chatting with WISP Assist, they said they had customers that had hundreds of radios down across their network. When the front hit us, we dropped to 7 degrees. We're a camp shop, but we do have some Ubiquiti equipment out there. Every single one of the Ubiquiti radios went offline within about 15 minutes of each other because we hit that minimum temperature that these things are built to operate at. No matter what kind of redundancies that you put into place in a network, eventually you're at these temperatures that are just either higher or lower than the equipment is ever designed for, and it's going to go offline. And unfortunately, tomorrow we got people that are going to be working from home because they're being smart and they're not going out in the roads in this. But we're going to have customers that are down. And even though I've run a WISP for 7 years, I've been banging the fiber drum from day one. I've always believed that the end goal in the United States is fiber to every single home. And I know some WISP operators don't want to hear that, but when you put a piece of glass underground, that's one thing I never have to worry about. And it can get down to -100 outside, and that piece of glass is going to continue to pass light through. When it's cold here, we have 100-mile-an-hour winds routinely in the wintertime along the Front Range here. Those keep me up at night because in the next morning you've got so many radios that have come out of alignment as a result of that. So when you bury something underground, it's just one less thing you got to worry about with all these environmental storms that seem to be getting worse and worse year after year.
Well, keep in mind, fiber is still not impervious to those types of things. There is this wonderful
Sure.
thing called backhoe fade.
Well,
I'll agree with you that the fiber in the long term is probably the best. The downside though is there is so much country inside the United States. There's so much space that it's not practical to install everywhere. It's just not.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It in the urban areas, suburban areas, that's easy, but out in the farmlands and the rural areas, it is difficult. Will it happen someday? I think so.
Yeah, someday.
It is really expensive, and it's hard for WISPs,
Right.
and there's still certainly an argument for. I'm not saying get rid of RF, but I do believe that the end goal should be a cable, and that cable these days, the most sense is glass.
This is why I like the open access model where people can get fiber to the home through their county. It's going to cost you a bit, but unless a tree hits it, it's not going to go down. Although it goes down more than I care to admit because people break things. It's like, don't play with the fiber. Leave it alone. So they put the CPs on the outside of the house and run a wall wart inside, and I just come and terminate the cable so you can't touch them now. It's like, good.
Yeah. We've had our share of not MDUs, but those open access community networks, and for the most part, the state-run operations are fairly decent. However, they don't make a whole lot of facility access possible. Anything on the city or county sides typically has a singular person that you could trace all the design and engineering back to, and they don't have enough money to complete loops, etc. So now you're in that basically the same boat as everybody else.
Yeah, they build what now is referred to as the middle mile to nowhere. They believe they put some fiber in, and all these ISPs are going to come to town and jump on that and be able to service all of their customers. And it doesn't work. And you're right. I think the local and provincial governments just don't have the bandwidth, so to speak, to be doing open access fiber. It takes companies like, I think a company like Utopia is one that has really done this properly, where it's a kind of a quasi-governmental agency that is doing it and selling it to the ISPs or giving the ISPs access to it, but it's not beholden to any one government or any one legislature body. They're an independent company that gets to do this and is doing it right and has the engineering background.
That's amazing.
They really are a success. And if we could duplicate that in more places, I think we would be benefiting our citizens.
Get the Century Links and the Lumens of the world to run fiber to let us, do it, something like that. But they won't do that because of politics. It's
actually, you say that, Andrew, but I play cards with this with a CenturyLink guy, and basically in northeastern Colorado. And so basically all he's been doing for the last 2 years is 1 gig drops all across Colorado for like small ISPs, and people buy it, they get DIA for it, and then they get within 4 hours of a phone call, there is a tech on the road to do diagnostics.
That's amazing.
And apparently they're doing boatloads of those, and that's what Lumen wants to go to nowadays is be just like a middle mile.
I mean, why would you want to have to deal with all the individual subs whenever you can just deal with just a few? I mean, that's
I thought it was brilliant.
That's the best business model out there.
That's our goal.
Hey, I'm just going to wholesale it to every to the 8 ISPs that are out there, and it's all good. The one thing that what was it, Utopia? I think it was. One thing that they do really well, and we've actually had several discussions with state representatives on for our customers, is they want to have the open access to get the fiber to all these subdivisions and homes and stuff. That's great. But what they don't think about is how are you going to get bandwidth to them? Is it all at one data center? Is it all at one suite? Is it at 2 data centers? Or is there where are these interconnections going to occur? So the example is one of our customers, they want to get on this open access program, and they have currently a cross connect from a Cogent router to another layer 2 provider. Okay. And it's all in the meet me room. So there's no cross connect fees. It's all happy. The problem is that where the state provider is, or where the state is running this fiber network is in the basement. So 8 floors down. So now the question is how do they get fiber from their cogent down to that room? Can they install something in that room? Which, by the way, the state doesn't actually contract with the data center. It's actually a third party. They're actually renting a rack inside of a suite. So they're a third party to a third party to a third party. Now, how do you get fibers or cross connects ran? Who's going to pay for that? How can they get access to their equipment? Can they even put equipment in the rack and actually have access to it? And that was
down.
Right. And that was kind of some of the issues that when we started talking with the state, they're like, well, we just figured they would just be here. And I'm like, no, that's, they're going to have to bring it in from somewhere. And it's either they're going to have to put their own equipment in, or they already have a suite or a rack or a quarter rack or an eighth rack in the data center. And I'm like, whenever I talk to our customer, I was like, technically that's probably what I would do. I would sit there and basically buy an eighth of a rack, go put your equipment in and just let it run. Because that way you are a customer of the data center. The data center, you can order your cross connects. It's all really easy. Okay.
Then you get support because it's the data center, not a third party of a third party of a third party.
Right.
Bob
Right.
John and Frank to get access to something 2 weeks from now. It's like,
right. But that's not what the state wants. The state wants you, you just put we'll give you 4U in our rack for free. Well, that's fine, but that doesn't help us get those cross connects. So,
yeah,
it's definitely an issue with most of these state providers that they don't think about the other end of the fiber as well.
Yeah, these are real easy to and real hard to do well. And the ones that get screwed up really are given kind of that open access a bad name because there's just so many of them that have been screwed up. Because they're just you don't think about all the kind of little minutia of that. You don't have the right people in the right places to run them.
Yeah, and everything just turns into a mess.
And the bandwidth too. I know other open access providers who can't buy bandwidth from the carrier because they use too much bandwidth. Well, why would you even use your bandwidth in the first place? It's too expensive. Oh, because you don't want to pull it yourself. That's what we do. We pull our own bandwidth. We don't want to use your bandwidth. We want to use our bandwidth because if you go down, we don't go down. Really? Yeah. So networking works. So, we have a dark fiber provider here. We'll have the government in here, the state in here, and then we'll have our private optics, which are already here. So we got 4 feeds that will come in, and it's like, redundancy.
Yeah.
I've called the other providers and say, hey, you want to loop into our network? No. Okay. Have a good day.
We'll run you out.
Never wants to play with you. Yeah. Oh, they will. They'll try. And it's
do.
like, they try, but
back to preparations for the snowstorm. I remember, was it a week or two ago, we had this pretty big windstorm. And I remember waking up in the middle of it being like, oh no, it's going to be rain. Oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Cause I just have fiber that I babysit and DSL that I don't have to deal with the copper on. It's really, really, really nice being a fiber ISP.
Yeah. Last year, I think I was telling you guys my saga of the Cambium shovels, right?
Yeah.
The V3000 Terragraphs, which were built like an upside down shovel, collected the snow. So they had sent us in the spring some cover. Those, most of them were fabric in nature, testing on there. We tried putting never wet. Nonetheless, none of those really worked out. Cambium, though, to their defense, over the summer did build an injection molded kind of hard plastic radome cover now that is designed to go over the V3000. We've got 10 of them now deployed through a couple snowstorms. They work really well. The more fabric that we had on during the summertime, they were made out of kind of a material like an umbrella almost that they built and cut to fit over the radio. Those all disintegrated in the UV. One of them, the top of it opened up. We had a snowstorm. It then allowed the shovel to fill up with snow, but it couldn't empty out the bottom, right? So it made the problem worse. But they've sent us new ones. We've replaced all the old fabric ones that we were beta testing for them, and I think they finally fixed it. Their new V2000 that has come out has a radome built into the design. So while they took a lot of heat and should have last year over that design, they do have a relatively inexpensive. I think they're about $20 a radome cover that fixes the problem now, and they snap on and they work great. So that problem I think is behind us. So
good to know. I'm glad
Yeah.
they fixed that because I like Cambium. It's a little pricey, but it's good, and the support's pretty good too. They said if you have any issues, we have the man here, and he'll make it work for you. They weren't kidding. They made it work for me. I'm like, okay, I'm happy with Cambium. You're too expensive though, but I'm gonna keep using it anyway because it works, right? And it works.
The question is why are they too expensive?
Maybe it's because I'm compared to like people like Ubiquiti, who's like entry level prosumer. It's like, no, I want commercial grade stuff, but I'm not going to do like NEC
Right.
or.
But I mean that's what I'm saying is, Ubiquiti came in and they basically disrupted the market with these super low prices, but they don't have the quality, they don't have the technology, they don't have any support, or what support they have is
no support
existent. Right.
Yeah.
So you're comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
In those particular cases.
Dennis, you're 100% correct on that. You get what you pay for. And when you pay for a quality link, those are the radios I don't worry about. Today, all my Ubiquities are down, all my Cambiums, all my Ciclus, all my Dragon Waves are up. And you get what you pay for. I would rather pay more on the front end than have to deal with this in the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the customers who aren't happy, they leave you negative reviews, they don't tell people about you. It's like, I don't want any of that stuff. I want to come out as being pristine, good. It's like, why am I paying this much? Because you're not paying for garbage. You're going to get something quality. Well, how do you know? Because we built it that way.
Because I've been working my blood, sweat, and tears into this
to get this thing going for you. They're like, well, why would you do that? Because nobody else cares. Well, someone else tried and he couldn't get it to go, and you're just not doing it right. It takes time, and I do it in the middle of a recession too. It's like, what am I doing? This is such a good idea because I know everyone's rates are going to go up, or ours will stay the same.
Yeah. And really, I would say that, Andrew, that is the big thing. And Dennis, you were right. Just hitting the head, because, and I really think like WISPA, we've seen that over the last couple of years. Like Ubiquiti used to have a mega booth and all sorts of cool and interesting products and such, and they haven't shown up. I guess they're now a sponsor again with for WISPA, but they haven't been to WISPA Palooza in the last 2-3 years. And
they show up to the booth, but they can sponsor it. It's like, you got a booth there, you don't show up.
Yeah, well, they didn't even have a booth this year and last year, which and they weren't.
I wanted to go this year so bad, but couldn't.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was a good time. Good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. But I think I really see that dedication to the market, because like Cambium's been really like reflecting on what people are saying and responding to that, and I really do appreciate that, because like I've even reached out to them a couple times recently and been like, yeah, I know I don't buy any of your stuff, but I talk about your stuff all the time. I'm on the forums all the time. I have these concerns, and the guy who I've never bought anything from still like, listen, hears me out, and he's like, you know what, that's good stuff, and talks to me. So Steve Keeley is like, I love him a lot. He's a great guy, and he's always been there for like various questions and such. So
it's been hard to find a provider like that, like Cambium. Like I didn't know about Cambium until Chad mentioned it last year or the year before, something like that. I'm like, who's this Cambium? Oh, it's just Motorola. These guys should be good. And I did some research into it. We've got an outdoor antenna. That thing's blasting. It's like, wow, Wi-Fi 6. Holy crap! I wish I had a Wi-Fi 6 device to test it on, but 800 megs, pretty good. It's like,
yeah. So all right, so we've got the Wave AP hitting market. Any of the other fun stuff from Ubiquiti that anyone's been particularly interested in? I'm trying to think.
Cloud Key, maybe.
Yeah, they've got all sorts of weird new
stuff.
Stuff.
Where are they rumor wise with Wi-Fi 6E? Have we heard anything from them about potential products in that?
They've got the software, and they have the beta in the beta store. They have the CPEs out.
That are doing 6 gigahertz, like the full spread of the entire.
So it's Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi 6E, not 6.
Okay.
Well, 6E is 6 gigahertz, right?
No,
it's AX in 6 gigahertz.
No, Wi-Fi 6 is just the AX protocol in 5 gigahertz.
Right. 6E is 6 gigahertz.
That 6E adds the extended 6 gigahertz.
Right.
Is it the whole spectrum?
But also note that is not available to be used inside the United States yet.
Without a license.
Oh, really?
They are giving experimental licenses.
Correct.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So do we know if it's going to be the whole spectrum? Because like Mimosa's A6 doesn't have the whole spectrum.
I do not believe any of the Ubiquiti gear, and I'm not a Ubiquiti expert. I can't sit there and tell you this. I do not believe that they have any 6E stuff out.
Okay. So, all right. So we're still waiting on that.
However, it should be very easy to put a 6E chip in it. It's just really opening up the bands because it's the same protocol.
Yeah.
There's really not much to do other than opening up the band.
Yeah.
Maybe redesigning an antenna.
Yeah.
So
redesigning
they've
the
kind
antenna,
of
band filters, stuff like that.
They've given up on the LTU and have moved to AX as their kind of replacement for LTU protocol. Is that what they're doing? You don't hear much LTU anymore.
I do know that there are people that are using LTU and they're liking it. I cannot sit there and tell you yes or no on that.
I've got a customer who loves the heck of it and can use it, but they're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no one else around them, and they're their only interference provider. So but beyond them, like I've seen so many guys in like high noise environments or really any competition environment not be able to, and then also or like long distance stuff, guys really struggle with the LTU, and it's just like really hard for me to. I have one guy who keeps asking me, he's like, well, what do you think about going to the LTU? I'm like, I haven't run it enough to be able to say it's better. I had a point-to-point link that was great, but
product availability is also an issue on any of those types of things. So,
but yeah, the AC gear is still kicking butt. So they haven't released they had like the light AP LTU that they came out with a couple months ago. I don't know. I wonder if the chipset that they have is, with it being customized and such, if they can get MIMO, because that's the key. Like everyone figured out. Ubiquiti was like, we're just going to go with higher bit rate on the same two chains, but everyone else went MIMO and Ubiquiti didn't. And I feel like the AX CPE that is backwards compatible with the AC gear is an admission of defeat. And I don't know if the LTE. It's sad to me because they spent a boatload of money on it, and I hate to, everyone loves to knock on Ubiquiti, but they did disrupt the market. They did in a lot of ways meet a demand, and they enabled a lot of internet companies to exist that otherwise couldn't have afforded it. So we can knock them. Yeah, and we can all knock on them for various things, and they're no saints, but they did make a niche in the market and created something. So it makes me sad to see competition kind of die out in that way. And like and the LTU was really a kind of a cool idea, but it's sad to me to see a product kind of fail like that. And it makes me feel sad and not happy because I want everything to win. You can't have that.
Well, they were disruptive with pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they're AP Pros, I've installed probably 100 of those things in hotels, houses, restaurants, and they're easy, plug and play, done.
Yeah.
They're not very. I mean, they're not super good, but they work.
Yep.
It works. I tried to convert a client from Ubiquiti to Mimosa or Cambium. They told me no. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
What are you thinking there, Dennis?
So there is, in the early access stuff, there is some U6 Enterprise that they are stating that they have 6 gigahertz bands, but it just says Wi-Fi 6 support, not 6E.
And that's outdoor stuff. That's not indoor Unify, right?
That is a Unify.
Oh, that's
access,
okay.
Access point U6 Enterprise.
I've got 2 of those in my house. They are 6E. I can confirm because I've got some 6E client devices that do full 6 gigahertz. And we could do a whole nother show on the problems with 6E and AX and backwards compatibility. But yeah, they are out there. I think they're about $400, Dennis, for for each AP.
300 is what they're this says.
That's not terrible.
Yeah, so they're a third to more the price of the next closest competitor, which might be Cambium. Ruckus's AP I think is close to $2,000 still. Cambium's about $1,000.
Ruckus will never be down in that arena.
No, they won't. But if you're starting to look at, I want Wi-Fi 6E indoor Wi-Fi, they're right now the only one that is really somewhat affordable.
Yeah. The only issue is that there's nobody that has 6E devices other than a cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh, my laptop.
I'm going to say I bought my laptop last year and it does not have 6E in it. Doesn't even offer 6 or AX actually.
Yeah.
So again, it'll all change, but it just takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess Billows actually, they're supposed to this on Christmas Day, they're actually supposed to be getting their shipment of their Billow 6 access points. So I actually have a friend who is beta testing that, and he said it's been working all right. But yeah, he did have weird compatibility issues with a 8-year-old laptop and then a few other things.
Yeah,
is that just because it was trying to use one of the Wi-Fi 6 channels, and
so that's one of them. So it's just like, if you're using Unify, you really can't run that on, the Uni 2 band because there's so many devices that don't run Uni 2. So you have to run it on, the other band. So that's one issue with Wi-Fi 6E. On the actual AX protocol, the AX protocol actually prefers to use WPA3. Okay. That is its bread and butter. That's where you get the best performance, etc. It will use WPA2, but if you have WPA3 on, you cannot have WPA on.
Really?
Well, so I'll take that a step further. The Unify, if you use gigahertz channels, the Unify will not allow WPA2. It must be WPA3 only, which means there's zero backwards compatibility and all of your IoT devices fail, so that you end up spinning up multiple SSIDs on the single AP just to get stuff in your house to work. Yeah, it is WPA3 only, at least with Unify's implementation of it.
Yeah.
Which at some point you got to cut off and you got to move forward, and WPA is much more secure, but zero backwards compatibility right now.
Yeah. So with like Mikrotik's Wi-Fi 6 gear, we can run WPA and WPA2. If you turn on WPA3, WPA2 can stay on, but WPA cannot. And of course, you have freaking refrigerators out there that have to connect to Wi-Fi, and they only support WPA or thermostats and crap like that. So,
Roku Express, they're only 2.4 gigahertz. They do not run on 5.
Yep.
I have several clients who have them. They're like, it won't work, and they have the router from their cable ISP. So I came with one of my routers, plugged in, and like, hey, it works. I'm like, I know. Don't use the all-in-one things, please.
This is the next tech support problem that WISPs are going to have as people start 6E stuff. We're going to see a whole new batch of it for Christmas that's given as gifts, and they're going to install it, and things are going to break because there's no backwards compatibility, and it's going to be on us to help troubleshoot that. And these are hard things to troubleshoot.
Yes.
They are. That's the other half of my shop, too, is I do IT repair. It's more of, I have a computer and I have a router, and they don't work together. Make it work. I get lots of those. Like, traditionally during December, it's like calls through the roof. I'm like, what did I do? Oh, it's because I help you and nobody will. Okay.
Yeah. As long as you're charging, who cares?
Oh, yeah. If they're not a customer, they definitely get to pay. But if you're a customer, I'll help you their Wi-Fi for free. That's the thing. It comes with it. Really? Say, yeah. But if you're going to call me 6 times to come to your house, I'm going to bill you every time.
So I'll actually tell you a story about that, and I'll just make this real quick. A customer, this was a number of years back, they had their customer service team that answered phones. They had 8 people answering phones between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Okay. When we converted their network over to a new billing system that they finally could actually enter tickets per the customer account. They'd never had that before.
Wow.
Okay. And they're like, well, why do we need it? Because we need to know who the problem customers are, number one. Not to mention, we also need other things. Well, one of the very first things that occurred when we started doing that project is they couldn't find the customer accounts. It turned out after 3 months, we basically said, okay, now you must find a customer account to be able to help them with anything. To help them connect their dang, PlayStation, to help them connect anything to their network or help them in any which way, you must find an account. And if you can't find an account, start asking them. And we had a list of questions. And sure enough, they found out that about 28% of every support call was former customers.
Yep.
28%. They could literally fire 2 people or move 2 people out of customer support.
Yeah.
Because they were helping people that had switched over to DSL or cable or something else.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
man. Yeah, you gotta help your customers. Make sure your customers before you help them. Otherwise, that's a PC repair job.
Right. But the problem is that there's billing systems out there that that you can't do that, or you can't tag a customer that they called or anything like that. And that was the issue that they had.
Yeah, that's real money out the door.
Yes, it's just money right out the door. Right.
Yeah, got to be paying attention. So, and we had customers like that who liked us so much for our tech support, and I billed them hourly for it. But like I couldn't imagine 28%. I was like 2 or 3, but I don't know.
No. I mean,
that's
they had like 2,800 customers.
Okay.
But they literally had a lot of tech support. And keep in mind, they were also in the Snowbird area, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people calling in for support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I'm here on vacation for the next 3 months because it's too cold at home. Like here in Washington, all the snowboards go to Arizona, and they all bring their hotspots with them. And whoever's through, and they're always like, "Hey, I'm down here, and this isn't working. Can you help me?" I'm like, "You have internet."
We had a big problem because we had that we had a snowbird park there that had 850 units.
Wow.
So it was huge. I mean, they had 2 grocery stores, they had 4 bars. I mean, it was absolutely massive. But 8 months out of the year, there was maybe 150 people in it.
Wow.
So we would basically, so the WISP was the only one that would bring in a gigabit wireless link to them to be able to service the customers for the 3 to 4 months that they were there.
Wow. That's expensive. Jeez.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, but the problem is, what's the difference if they bring in fiber? Now they're paying fiber prices, and on top of that, they're paying it throughout the year. Where the WISP ended up taking a cut. Basically, they actually managed the Wi-Fi, so that it worked out for them. So
that's part of what we're doing here too, where fiber links become too expensive. Like, why would I pay thousands of dollars a month for 1 gig when I could shoot 1.5 gig down the road from you using Cambium?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's where we make our money is.
So you did ask about new Ubiquiti products. Don't forget, we also have this wonderful EV station thing going on.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited to plug my. I'm never going to plug any vehicle into that thing.
So
Ubiquiti
do I
and
get
power
to
do
use?
not go together?
Do I get to use my Ubiquiti solar panels?
Yeah.
My Ubiquiti charger, and then my Ubiquiti door access card will give me access to the charger, and then I can use my Ubiquiti phone for tech support if it doesn't work. Right? Are we going to lump all these products together?
Well, I personally feel that Ubiquiti has lost their focus.
Yeah.
And they're just, and I hate to say it, they're literally becoming there's a Chinese company that they have like everything on their website. I can't think of the name of it, but it's basically, that's what they're doing. They're basically, if they can develop it and they can make it, then they will make it and they'll send it to Walmart. Because I mean, heck, now you got APs at Walmart.
It's going to look awesome. It's going to have great marketing. It's going to kind of work, and it's going to be shut down in a year.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd love to put some Cambiums on Walmart and get paid for it, but that will never happen. You never know. Never know. Someday, I have a business colleague jokes about it. He's like, someday you just become the router. I'm like, no. Well, actually, maybe.
Hey, never underestimate the bandwidth of a Chevy doing 55 down the interstate.
Yeah, there you go.
It's moving. It's going.
Especially with one of those 60 hard drive servers in the back.
Yeah. Jeez.
I have a 24 bay one in the basement, 2.5 inch though, and they're all SSD, so I'm good. It's like, okay, but it still weighs 100 pounds. It's like, jeez.
Yeah. So, well, let's see what other fun stuff has hit the market recently. I think we're starting to see BDC stuff. Wait, no, was it? Yeah, deployment. We're starting to see people get to report on that and having issues with the reporting. Is this the comment period or the the
actual
challenges?
challenges?
Yeah.
Challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, the challenge, that whole system I knew was going to be a it's a CF word, but you guys can figure that out. But
you said like we're in a learning period. You said a couple months ago when we were talking about this, like it's going to be rough. They know it's going to be rough. Guys, just we'll work through it and get it. And that's just what I feel like. I want to scream every day when I see people frustrated with it. It's like, yeah, they knew it was bad because there is nothing. And it's, but this is even this bad data is better than Form 477.
In all fairness, it sounds like the challenges are making it back to the ISPs that are being challenged. That the FCC has said we're not going to do anything in this first round except pass them on, but they are being passed on, and ISPs that are being challenged are receiving them. So the system is somewhat working.
Yeah, but what if they don't do anything, or who's the arbitrator?
Right now, there isn't one, and the FCC has been clear about that. That this first round, there is no arbitrator. We're just going to pass them on. But I think from a technical standpoint, you can challenge, and the challenge is being sent on to the ISP that you're challenging. Yeah. At some point, we'll get some arbitration. They're going to have to prove what's going on. But I don't want to give the FCC too much credit. But at least I'm surprised the challenge process is even what's to be honest.
Yeah. And I know tons of WISPs that they're like, if I'm excluded from, and I hate to sit there and say this is what's happening in the current WISP market. We have the BEAD program, which basically they're saying, WISPs can't even qualify for any money. Okay. So now they're saying, WISPs are saying, well, if I don't qualify, why do I even need to submit the maps? Okay. On top of that, whenever you submit the maps, they say, hey, all of your 5 gigahertz stuff isn't even going to be included anyway. Okay. Any of the unlicensed stuff. Okay. So I get where they're saying they're literally leaving this because of the BEAD program. They're leaving out this big section of customers. Now, do I think the BEAD program will be for only fiber line providers? The answer is probably not. The state will end up ultimately deciding it, or the states will be. But it's just not a good situation in its entirety. And it's just like the FCC sticker. If there's no arbiter, or if there's nobody that's enforcing the correct data, then it's useless. Or at this point in time, it's useless.
Dennis, answer this for me. If you're a small ISP and you're not going after any federal or state funding, you don't use any licensed links, is the repercussion for not ever filing a 477 report to the FCC? What can they legally do to you as an ISP for not submitting the data they require?
So every particular instance of you not submitting, so the last round had been 2 because you had the BDC and the Form 477, those are $15,000 fines. Okay.
Per instance,
right.
Wow.
For falsifying BEAD information, not BEAD information, for BDC, if you falsify information and they learn about it, etc., $15,000 per instance. Okay.
So where is a small operator who's using unlicensed networking equipment ever sign an agreement that says they're going to file this thing or be fined by it?
The answer is it's in the act of Congress, because Congress has given the FCC the authority to issue fines based on if you are operating inside the U.S., these are the legal requirements.
On unlicensed equipment. If everything is unlicensed, how can you enforce that?
If you say that
if you are an ISP.
Yeah.
If you say that you sell broadband internet, then you have to follow these rules.
Correct.
If you don't say that you sell internet and don't say that you sell broadband, then you don't have to follow the rule. But it's just the same way as like why all dentists have to be licensed doctors
but they hold a license,
yeah. But the state is allowed to make a requirement. If you want to call yourself a dentist, you have to get a state license for this. It's the same thing. But at the federal level for fiber. Internet service.
Yeah, state of Washington.
Now the answer is the FCC currently, and I do know where they're currently sitting, but right now they don't want to hand out fines. That's not their goal. Their goal is to get the data. Okay. Will they start issuing fines? Do they have a team of lawyers that has lists of ISPs that are actively advertising services? Yes. Are they checking on them, and are they giving them time to make sure that they have the time to get them in? The answer is yes. I mean, the last filing period, once the filing period ended, they kept it open for like 2 more months. Okay, so it wasn't like they stopped the ability to get that done. But again, the simple fact is that if you're not going for that money, why do you have to toss out money to give those things? And I get that point too, you know, especially when you don't have any government money, you're not getting any money. Money will be based off the reports that you put in, and they're still going to give money away to your competitors. It does suck. So
so I guess if their goal is to get money from the government to build your business as your main source of revenue, you should probably look elsewhere. That's kind of what we did. I'm like, I don't want to go through
there's a lot of ISPs that do that because of the quantity of money.
Yeah.
You know, what is that? $42 billion. You know, you start doing the math. There are fiber line providers out there that are saying they will build fiber line out to these rural areas, $50,000 per mile.
Wow, 50K mile. I'm trying to think what. Yeah, I guess it makes sense here because I'm like 3 blocks away, and it was a lot more than 50. It was like over 100. I'm like, it's a lot. I know
operators, and obviously it varies state to state, but I know operators that are doing it for less than what is it, $8,000 a mile.
Wow.
So now they're doing everything. They bought all the gear, they get all the permits, they do everything in house.
Yeah. Are they doing that aerial or buried?
Buried.
Wow, that is. I guess if you're doing everything,
really good.
Yeah, it depends. Are you in my county? You know what our chief export here is? It's rock. So in my county, you ain't gonna do that.
Yeah,
but it depends on where you're at.
Here's all Ditch Witch. Here's Washington. Good luck.
Yeah. See, back in Colorado, out in the plains, it was pretty cheap. We were like in the 20-ish K for ripping it in, and that was just doing bare fiber.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but still, I mean, if you're at 50K, but that was just doing the straight rip it in. I wasn't doing drops. I was counting handholds and the other stuff and crossings, but still, it wasn't cheap.
And that's not directional boring, which gets even more expensive.
Yeah.
You're just plowing it in. Yeah, around here it's 100% directional boring.
Right.
Yeah. Up in the mountains there in Golden. Yeah, you guys are that's a whole new realm. All right. Well, we're well over the hour and a half, or we're hitting the hour and a half mark. Any other fun little topics and or thoughts we've run into this last week?
The only thing I had would be Mikrotik does have their 100 gig QSFP 28 out.
Yeah.
How much is it though? Like $6,000?
15, I thought.
$349.
$350?
$350.
That's not bad.
10 kilometers.
I don't have that kind of connectivity.
Mikrotik is sort of the exception to the you get what you pay for rule. Where
Those guys are just
I'm happy
crazy
with our Mikrotik. We have a 2004 in the basement. It's like this thing. It boots in 10 seconds. I was like,
we have 2 customers with 100 gig installations. One of them is moving about 45 gig. And the CPU on that 2216 runs about 4%, 5%.
Yeah, Mikrotiks are really good. And they're inexpensive too. The first one I bought was DOA. It literally showed up and it like made rattling noises. I'm like, back you go.
Mm-hmm.
Happens.
Yep.
Yeah. But gosh, yeah.
It was up and running. I have lights.
Actually, I just got my first 5009 with the PoE input and output. God, that's just a sexy router. That 5009.
They're very, very fast. The CPU on them are really cool. Mikrotik has this wonderful vision that there's going to be ISPs that's going to have 4 of those in 1U rack space. They make a little 1U rack mount unit that you can put 4 of them on there. I just don't know how that's going to work.
I'm trying to understand what you would be doing in
But
that.
that's
situation.
kind of the ideal. Is I don't understand how that's going to work, but you know, we have some of the rack mount units in. I know all of our 5009s are gone, but you know, it's just I keep in mind they have a completely different mindset. Whenever the internet was blowing up in Latvia, what the internet was an Ethernet cable, 100 meg Ethernet cable ran from one building to the next building. And then they upgraded that to 100 to a gigabit, and then they upgraded that to fiber. There was no T1s. They had dial-up ish, but they didn't have any ISDN lines, T1s. Yeah. They did have some things called E1s, but that was only in select areas. But whenever they got the technology, they were already well past that. So they just went straight Ethernet on everything.
Yeah. And that not having that legacy like hold up is really been helpful for them.
Yeah.
So
they've been around from the 90s too. Long time. Very long time.
And honestly, for me, like I look at other equipment and like I look at some Cisco boxes. I'm like, why in the world do I care about any of these technologies?
Yeah.
And it's because I'm just so young in the industry. I'm like a little baby.
Well, keep in mind also, you know, a good student of mine said, you know, the best thing that Mikrotik has is that they do everything. The worst thing about Mikrotik is that they do everything. And I can tell you, I can tell you probably right now, I probably have 4 or 5 ISPs that we're dealing with issues because they have everything running on one box. You know, they'll have VPLS circuits, MPLS, OSPF. They're doing BGP. They're doing queuing. They might even have a few PPOE clients out there too still.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head for what is the use case for that 4 units in one RU. And when we moved into our data center and we had a half a rack, we suddenly needed an out-of-band router. Then we needed a VPN concentrator. And then we had a customer come in that put a Proxmox and needed a router. We didn't want to put that on our core. So suddenly we're just starting to drop in lots of little routers that are doing very specialized things. I would love to have saved all the rack space and put 4 of those things together and done it that way. It's a great use case for those.
Yeah, that would be a really good use case for those 1U things. Something else that I get a lot is we get people that they say, well, I only have 5 US space. I go, you have 10 US space. You have front and back.
Yeah, especially true.
Mikrotiks, you have they're small, they're little bitty narrow things. You know, you can fit front and back. And they're like, holy cow, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, no,
makes it hard to get to stuff, but
yeah, ours makes it hard to get to the power.
I want it all in front.
Yeah. But that's why you get a rack all by itself, and then you can just take the side off.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah, I just pop off the side, thing comes off. Okay, we're good. Put it back on because the other rack's up.
Well, that's a really good use for your Ubiquiti camera. Just put it inside the rack. That way, you can see it.
Yeah, you can see what you're doing. So, Chad, I'm in 910 there, and like they put my rack. I don't know what was going on when I got in there, but they put my rack like out in the middle of nowhere zone. Like there's racks.
Yeah, you got plenty of space.
And there's just my rack and my half rack, and then there's supposed to be somebody below me, and I'm just like, well, I guess I can take the sides off. So
yeah, I came in one day and all the sides to my rack are off. Huge fans are pointing at it. The guy above us had filled a half rack full of really hot equipment and was overheating that corner of the room. And I'm like, what is going on around here? The air conditioning goes out in there regularly. It's I'm really glad that the Mikrotik stuff is quiet and it is low power and low heat. Yeah, the guy down in the summertime and the air conditioning fails, and my Mikrotik stuff just keeps on running.
Oh yeah. By the way, remember when we were talking about you have to have 2 redundancies for everything? If your room requires 2 tons of AC to cool, you need to have 4 tons, and it needs to be 2 completely separate systems. So I'm just using that as an example. Obviously, you can go bigger or smaller, but that is we actually have 2 AC systems. We actually have a rear ventilation system for like today when it's 20 degrees outside. It'll actually cycle and pull fresh air in, pull the cold air in. So probably that server room is probably 65 right now. which is good. And we're not using any AC, because before we were using AC when it was 10 degrees outside.
Yeah, that was one of the brilliant things my last company had was this. It would just pull in fresh air from outside basically
That's what
most
I
of the
have.
winter long.
Love it.
Yeah.
So all winter the AC is running. I'm like, why is it still? Oh, because the whole building's glass. So whoever designed it was a genius. There, it's like,
Yeah,
cool. Everything.
So
we were trying to figure out how we could dump the heat out of that room into the garage area. and heat up the garage area, and we're like, yeah, let's not get that. That's just getting into complications that we don't need to get into. So, but yeah, that's about all I got. Keep the BDC stuff. How's this? Just like the FCC, they knew it was going to be a cluster. We knew our stuff was going to work. Was it going to work perfectly? The answer is we were pretty confident in it. Did it work? The answer is yes. Could have worked better, of course. We had processing times up to 20 hours on BDCs. Those times now are in under 20 minutes.
Well, and there shouldn't be too many people trying to pull reports for me. Well, actually, when's the next time we're due? It's going to be like mid-January, right?
No. BDC.
Because they just canceled the 477.
Yeah,
I think that's 477 is no longer required. So
yeah,
yay!
And they just built it into Sonar too. I noticed. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's going to change.
No, it won't. That'll be there for the next 3 years.
The Sonar experience has been interesting. I'll tell you. I'm not for it. I'm not against it. It's right in the freaking middle.
For some reason, January through March is sticking out in my mind of the next filing period, but I could be wrong on that. Or maybe it's February through April.
Yeah. So the data as of December 31st will be due no later than the following March 1st.
Yeah. Well, that's the big problem is, keep in mind the filing period opens, I think it's February 1st. Right?
It does not say when it opens.
It will open at least 3 months prior to the deadline. The big issue that we had last time was we had ISPs the day before the deadline calling us up saying, hey, I need stuff. And we already have a backlog of jobs that we still had to do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You can file immediately. I'm assuming on February 1st or as soon as it opens, you can file. You don't have to wait for the deadline other than unless you're just procrastinating.
Yeah. So basically, like people could do as of December 31st, and your date is all right. Fun fact, everyone, public service notice going out right now. Freeze any changes now. If you're going to be making changes tonight, don't do it. Wait till the beginning of the year. Stop now. FYI. And then secondly, so if they don't make any changes until through the rest of December, they could, in theory, pull their data now and then submit it whenever they're ready in March or when it opens.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it opens. It either opens January or February 1st.
Yeah, it should be January 1st. Because
so if it opens January 1st, then basically once you hit January, you can file at any time all the way up to April.
So then
I haven't done it yet, so I'm curious to see how this whole thing works. I've done no filings because we're not technically a WISP yet because there's nothing on the roof.
ISP,
but I do cover
ISPs
or ISP.
ISPs.
Yeah, anyone who's an
so
ISP.
all your fiber providers.
Great.
So that actually kind of came up into the whole BDC thing because what they require is they require you to do the same exact form for your subscribers as they did with the form 477.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to have your subscriber information, the speeds that they're at, etc., and the census tracts that they're in, which your most billing systems should give that. That is still a requirement in the BDC. Okay, but the issue is what if you have a a fixed wireless operator or a fiber operator, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you are riding somebody else's network. So let's say you're using AT&T to transport a gig service out to ISP-C. It doesn't matter. It's one of your subs. Okay. But that customer's outside of your footprint. Okay. So your wireless area is here, and way over here, the next state, you have this one single sub out there.
Yeah.
The problem is that if you upload the BDC data in your BDC data, even if you say you cover that over there, because there's no other surrounding areas, you can't submit. The only thing you can do at this point in time is to delete the subscriber outside of that census tract.
Interesting. I'm going to look more into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those.
It's a weird situation.
Yeah, but there are ISPs out there that they base all their services off of other networks, and if you don't operate a network, either fixed or fiber, then your BDC area is nothing.
Yeah, so you have to be the last mile provider.
You have to be the last mile provider.
Yeah.
So if you are providing DSL, you cannot list these areas as these are DSL provided, because guess what? You actually don't provide service there. Your
if you're
party
like
does.
If you're like what I am and doing DSL through Frontiers Network,
right?
It doesn't count. Frontiers
Still
Network doesn't count
back
for
to
me.
CenturyLink, for
Right.
example.
Right.
For the DSL.
So,
Okay.
There's another example is actually one of my programmers. He has a radio 60 foot in a pin oak tree. Why? Because that's the only place he could get service. In the BDC filing, it says in the subscriber data, he's a sub, but in the broadband service area, he's not. And they're like, well, how do we serve it? When we talk to the FCC, we're talking to, kind of the higher ups. We'll just leave it at that. And they're like, why would you have a customer? How can you have a customer if you can't get them service? Because this is extenuating circumstances. And guess what? WISPs are the de facto standard for extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
So literally that's been they have been debating that particular issue in the FCC for a little while, and I have not heard of any resolution on it, but
okay,
they're working on it.
Fun.
Yes.
Let's get this party wrapping up.
Yep.
It's getting late, I'm certain, for everyone, and you didn't get to have dinner yet, Dennis. So
no, I got something. There's a wonderful utility thing. It's called a microwave. You just hit the button.
Oh yeah, those are wonderful.
Yeah.
They kill your Wi-Fi pretty well. So all right.
No, that's only if it leaks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Andrew, if anyone out on the internet wants to get a hold of you and bug you, how do you want them to do that?
Real simple. Just go to seattleisp.com. Name's right there. Email me if you like.
Nailed it.
I got a bunch of other ones, but that's the easiest one to explain. People are like, how do you pronounce your account? Not even going to try. Just go to this domain. So if you're interested, absolutely shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer questions, and maybe go home at some point. And I think tomorrow maybe the circle will get turned on. I'm going to keep pushing the escalate on the ticket
with the holiday. Nah, I don't think so. You're going to be behind. You're going to be next week. Man.
Yeah, they said, it'll be tomorrow. I'm like, sure, fine. Take your time. It's like, just make it work. I can wait. I'm in no hurry. I waited this long. What's another couple days or a week?
So Chad, what about you? You have an internet presence out there that you like people to bug you at?
Yeah, I would say for WISP related stuff from this point forward, I am going to continue to give whatever knowledge I have left in my brain to the Brothers WISP Slack group, and we'll support people there. So.
Yeah, and he is very knowledgeable. He was my default go-to guy for 60 gigahertz information, and you've been helping a lot of people and talking to a lot of stuff from there. So really good to see. Dennis, you've got all sorts of internet presence.
Yeah, we try. The simplest way, linktext.net, our phone number's listed there, sales@linktext.net. Very, very simple, very easy. All of our contact information's there, and you can get a hold of us via multiple methods from that website.
Awesome. Well, I'm out there, lostcreek.tech. emails, all of the Slack group. I have been absolutely awful this year since I moved out to Illinois, checking the Mimosa forums. I feel terrible about that. I'm trying to make my New Year's resolution to be better on that, but I'm on the Facebook groups. Anywhere there, just ping me, and I'm more than happy to. At least if on the Facebook groups, I'm more than happy to tell you that you're wrong. That's my pastime. So y'all take care. Merry Christmas to everyone, and we'll catch you all next year. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Sit back and start learning. Lighten up the tower so people can start searching. Shooting up the web in neighborhoods, net surfing. We got horrible jokes, we're loud and annoying, but we're informative facts, we're not disappointing. Just give us a listen, cause fun is the mission. I'm telling you, you don't know what you are missing. Ideas and some good comedy given. If you missed the show already, don't worry, you're forgiven.